Welcome back to the IBSP. Here's your host, Boxing News.
Canelo Eubank negotiations have started, and look, let's break it down honestly and objectively as possible. And according to team Chris Eubank Jr., they state that they've restarted negotiations for a fight to happen next year. Ben Shalom has revealed that we've already started small conversations around the Canelo Alvarez fight. Chris Eubank also states, I could become the face of boxing. So obviously Chris Eubank is delusional, but the negotiations have restarted with Canelo Alvarez and Chris Eubank for a potential clash in the UK. It would be a massive event. If you don't know, Canelo Alvarez has always wanted to fight in the UK before he retires. There's no better time than the present. So it makes a lot of sense that Canelo is even looking at him as an opponent based off the simple fact that Canelo wants to fight in the UK and there's no one else really in and around his weight class. At the moment, that would be a credible opponent for him to go and fight in the UK. That's a UK-based fighter. So this makes a lot of sense in that regard. It's not one of the fights that I would like to see, but I understand why Canelo is looking at this fight, because he wants to fight in the UK before he leaves the sport of boxing. Now, what's also interesting is Canelo Alvarez and Chris Eubank tried to make this fight last year for September, but Chris Eubank, Canelo Alvarez could not agree on the money. And so they decided to look forward to next year in May. And so that's exactly what they're doing. This is one of the fights that I said was highly possible for Canelo Alvarez to fight in 2025. It just makes a lot of sense. Chris Eubank has his trainer, Bomac, which is also Terrence Crawford's trainer. So it's going to add a lot of intrigue to the fight if it does happen. You see, Canelo Alvarez stated that he wanted to fight Dimitri Bivol in a rematch in May of 2025, but he couldn't do that because Dimitri Bivol lost to Artur Beterbiev, and that destroyed any potential plans of Canelo Alvarez actually rematching this guy for his legacy yet again. So we understand why that fight is not happening. Canelo Alvarez obviously had bigger plans on his mind than Chris Eubank, so I understand why he needs to move on and find a new opponent. Another potential opponent for Canelo Alvarez in 2025 is a guy like Christian Mbili, who's undefeated, who has a high work rate, and who's very interested in fighting Canelo Alvarez. Another fight for Canelo in 2025 is Diego Pacheco. He would mark the third Latino in a row that Canelo Alvarez has fought if he selects him for his next fight. So Canelo Alvarez has a few good options to fight in his next fight, but we shall see what he decides to do.